What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Chill, where every single week I, Graham G.S. Matthews, break down all the content I watch on the WWE Network as well as on the E! Network, as today we're talking the Season 4 premiere of Total Bellas from this past Sunday night. We last left off with Nikki Bella breaking it off with John Cena. Now this season focusing on her moving on from her past relationship, I think of 5 or 6 years, to John Cena, as well as Brie Bella focusing on having a second baby in the respective returns to WWE in time for the Evolution pay-per-view in October of 2018. So Season 3 had just ended no more than 6 months ago. They usually try to have a season a year, so I'm surprised they're coming out with the 4th season so quickly. The 2nd season was no more than a year ago, like in the final few months of 2017. The 3rd season was in the spring/summer of 2018, and now we're getting Season 4 at the onset of 2019. So quicker and quicker they're pumping out the seasons. So we'll start to see if there's any if they're running a risk of pushing the seasons too quickly, because we just had Total Divas a few months ago. That just ended in November. The Bellas were on that, but not as much as they're on Total Bellas, obviously. Now, their stories are starting to take center stage with them focusing on moving on and their new lives and maybe going back to WWE and all that other stuff. So we start the show here. By the way, this episode was called The Bellas Are Back in Action, obviously focusing on the theme of them being invited back to WWE for the Evolution pay-per-view in October. So Nikki Bella starts off the show talking about how her breakup with John Cena has been tough, and she wants to find a place to call home after she moves out of John Cena's place, whom we do not see on this entire episode. I doubt we're going to be seeing Cena anymore on the show moving forward. They talk about Cena a lot, but not by name, not as often as you would think. She just talks about how tough the breakup has been, and they reference him as him, they reference the Cena as him or the X or whatever, that whole fucking dumb cliche shit. They don't really mention John Cena's name all too often, which I assume will be the case quite a bit moving forward. So she talks about wanting to be happy again, moving on from John Cena, and maybe not necessarily finding a new relationship so quickly, but moving on to a different place, because she's currently living in San Diego. The whole thing, you have to rewatch Season 3, which I think is in its entirety on the WWE Network, because the whole thing going on with John and Cena, with John and Nikki, was that they were having trouble, so she moved out. They made up, so she moved back in, and then they officially broke up, so she moved back out. I think to her own place in San Diego. I'm almost positive. I don't think she moved in with Brie and Brian. She did at one point, then she found her own place. I don't know what the fucking situation is like. It's very confusing. Nonetheless, Brie and Brian talk about wanting a second child, whether the timing is right. Brian really wants another child just to be so close in age to Birdie Joe, who they just had in the spring of 2017. But if they want a second baby and that they want the babies to be close in age, the siblings to be 1 or 2 years apart, they got to start working on that now. But for Nikki, though, she talks about how moving her stuff out was closure for her, and that she admits that there's certain parts of being with John and living with John that she'll miss. Meanwhile, Brian gets Brie some fertility tea to kind of start working on the second baby. He desperately wants that second child now, which is weird because Brian's now back in WWE. They talked about that on the latest season of Total Divas, with Brian getting back in the ring, and now he's on the road full time again. Brie isn't. So maybe his mindset is, maybe even though I'm back on the road currently with WWE, if we have a second child, she'll be home to take care of it. So we'll get more into that as we progress along in the episode here. Nikki, meanwhile, wants to move to Los Angeles, which isn't that far of a drive from where they are currently. They currently live in San Diego as of this episode, but she wants to move to Los Angeles. She feels like she needs it, and that living in San Diego kind of brings up too many bad memories, blah, blah, blah. That whole fucking I need to move here. I want the city life. I want to be the busy woman, blah, blah, blah. She apparently, quite honestly, genuinely feels like she needs to move to Los Angeles. And when she tells Brie about it, Brie is not all that happy at all. Because Brie is like, okay, we moved from Phoenix to fucking San Diego for you, chica. Why did we do this if you just want to move right along to Los Angeles? I don't think they think that, Brie and Brian think that Nikki was supposed to be there for Birdie Joe and blah, blah, blah. It's a couple hours drive, 3 or 4 hours with traffic, Nikki mentions, but still the principle, the whole principle of Brie and Brian moving to San Diego, the whole point of it, was for Nikki to be closer to them when she was alone. Now she wants to be alone by herself in Los Angeles. So Nikki talks about her, how about her and Brie are in different places in their lives currently. She'd only be 3 hours away. And Nikki says, listen, it's not my fault you guys moved out here from me. Take accountability for your own actions, which was a pretty ballsy thing to say considering all the nice things that Brie and Brian have done for Nikki and them moving out to San Diego for her. It was a pretty heavy thing to say, which I don't agree with whatsoever. But nonetheless, Brie, on the other hand, which I absolutely agree with, says to Nikki, you're running away from your problems. Moving to Los Angeles is not going to solve anything. It's a pretty big step for you to take so quickly. So I would think about this first. Don't run away from your problems. You'll still be single. You'll still be miserable. You moving to LA will not accomplish anything. Nikki gets the place she wanted anyway. She calls for an apartment in Los Angeles. She gets it. She's moving in very, very soon. So she fears what Brie's reaction is going to be because they're out for dinner. I think it's Brie, Nikki, Mama Bella, and their stepsister, which I didn't even know they had a stepsister until she was introduced on this show. I guess she must be John Laurinaitis' daughter from another marriage, which again didn't even know that existed. Didn't even know that there was another child in the equation here. But apparently she wants to get closer. Or rather, the twins want to get closer to her. So that's why they're hanging out with her more often. So Nikki tells Brie about her moving, and Brie thinks, without a doubt, it's a mistake. Like you're making a real big mistake here by moving on to Los Angeles when it's not going to really solve anything, and it's pretty disrespectful of you to do that considering that we moved to Los Angeles, or rather to San Diego for you. So they do a Birdie B photo shoot. Things get awkward because they're really not on the same page. They get back on the same page when they get a phone call from someone at WWE. It wasn't anyone notable. About coming back for the Evolution pay-per-view, WWE's first ever all-women's pay-per-view in October of last year. And they talk about whoever's on the line. The guy says, yeah, we're having our first ever all-women's pay-per-view. We want you girls to be a part of it, be a part of a pretty important storyline on Raw heading into the pay-per-view. The guy never once name drops Ronda Rousey. Maybe he did, and they edited that part out just to not give away any spoilers. But by this point, Evolution's like 3 months old. But anyway, they're very excited about going back. Obviously, they accept the invitation instantly, and now they're back on the same page. So they go to Lauren's second baby shower, Lauren being the wife of JJ, Brie and Nikki's brother. They go to the baby shower. I think Lauren announced her second baby at the wedding reception. Not the wedding reception, but like the one of the parties that John Cena and Nikki Bella had ahead of their wedding that was supposed to happen last spring. I think that was where she announced that they were having a second baby, and Nikki didn't have any kids, and she felt really bad about it, blah, blah, blah. So while they were there, Nikki apologizes to Brie for not telling her about her decision to move, not telling her sooner, and she still wants to do it. She's just saying sorry that she didn't tell Brie about her decision to move sooner. Meanwhile, Brie tells Brian about returning, and Brian's like, happy for her, but he's like, okay, what about the second baby though? Like, you can't go back if, you want to have a second baby. Like, if you really want to wrestle, we can't have this baby right now. Brie realizes that, and she's like, we can have a baby at any time. I know you want the kids to be very close in age, but if we wait a couple months to start having this child, then it won't be that big of a problem. Just wait a couple months. I really want to go back, get this thing done. So they talk about making their return together to WWE for the first time in like 3 years. Because, Brie was last in WWE. She was in the Women's Rumble last January. But before that, she had not been in WWE since WrestleMania 32 in 2016. Even then, though, Nikki was out hurt. So the last time the Bella Twins were actually a package on Raw, or a package deal, was back in, had to have been like September, October, the fall of 2015. So they're excited for that. Brie talks about getting a boob job maybe. And I think that's the focus of the next episode, of episode 2 of Total Bellas. And then they do a lot of media, like the Comic-Cons and the meet and greets and stuff like that. Nikki talks about how all the fans ask about her relationship status and if she has a crush on anyone in WWE, and she mentions how she used to date Dolph Ziggler back in the day. People are asking where her wedding ring is and about her relationship and blah, blah, blah. A lot of awkward questions. Nikki's just prepared to get all of it over with so she could be her own person and people can ask about her as an individual and not who she's with. And she also wants to focus on being back for Evolution. and then they start preparing for their return. So that's episode 1 of season 4 of Total Bellas, entitled The Bellas Are Back in Action. So stay tuned for more of this as it develops over the course of season 4 right here on the Total Bellas Reviews on WWE Network and Chill. So with all that being said, guys, thank you for checking out the video. I appreciate it. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more content. We'll be back with more reviews of Total Bellas in the weeks to come, probably dropping probably on Tuesdays, either Monday or Tuesdays. And if not that, then probably on the weekends. Either way, the reviews of Total Bellas are coming every week from here on out until the season is wrapped up. So until then, guys, have a great rest of your week. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.